Common wisdom tells women that if they steal a man's husband, it is going to cost them. Now, usually they talk about costing it in energy, in karma, in the headaches that man is going to cause you later because he's obviously a cheater. And now, thanks to a TikTok star, we also know that it can cost you $1.75 million to steal someone's husband. And today we're going to be doing commentary and a breakdown of the viral story of a TikTok influencer who has just been ordered by a judge to pay $1.75 million to the ex-wife of a man she stole. When I tell you this is one of the messiest things I've ever seen, I am not kidding. And you might be wondering, Amanda, why on earth are you talking about this? Well, every once in a while, I will see what's going on social media or pop culture or with influencers, and, I will take their messy drama and I will do a breakdown of teachable relationship lessons so that you, the audience member, does not end up in situations like this. Because in this case, these women were fighting over a man who wasn't really worth anything to begin with. We have come to find out. The other reason why I'm covering this is because in the last couple of weeks, it has come up a few times in the comment section, in interviews I've been doing with men, and also in the live chat of people asking, hey, why is there a group of women that's interested in married men? Why do women go after unavailable men? So I'm going to be answering that question as well, but mostly this is just very entertaining and messy, if I'm being honest. Hi, my name is Amanda. Welcome to this channel where we talk about how to manifest what you want in life without all the extra stress, chaos, and drama that most people are accustomed to. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. There's so many questions coming in the comment section, in my email from our students taking our courses, all about these different relationship dynamics and situations that happen between men and women, and I'm doing my best to get daily content out to explain what is going on based on my 15 years of experience coaching women in different areas of their lives, and also being mentored and around high-performing men for about 6 to 7 of those years. So that's what influences a lot of the content here. That's what influences a lot of my perspective and the commentary. If you're interested, make sure to subscribe. If you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up because it helps us get it in front of more people. And as always, if I have extra resources, trainings, courses, master classes, those kinds of things, for those of you who want to go deeper into some of the concepts that I'm going to be talking about in this video today, I will make mention of them throughout. You can find them in the description. Mostly today is probably just going to be commentary of this very messy story that's not just gone viral on social media, but is also being picked up by national news in the United States. So what I would recommend for most of you watching this, the women, is to grab our free Enhance Your Feminine Energy guide. It'll show you 7 ways to enhance your feminine energy in different areas of your life so you can avoid men like this, so you can avoid women like this, and so you can avoid having these types of messy situations in your life. You can download it for free below. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so here we are with the news story pulled up. This is from NBC News. Let me just make sure it's here in the beginning. So we're gonna watch this clip. I'm gonna give my commentary throughout, but this story is nuts. And you might be wondering why on earth it's being picked up by national news. Well, apparently suing your ex-husband's mistress is not common. There's only a few states that allow you to do it under something called alienation of affection. This couple, this situation happened to be in one of those states, North Carolina, where a woman can sue for that. And in addition to that, alienation of affection is quite difficult to prove. So it's one of the reasons why it's getting picked up by national news, and the story is just insane. It's just crazy. Like I said, buckle up and let's get started.
A modern-day Montague feud gone viral.
And it was nothing but lies.
North Carolina TikToker Brenay Kennard ordered to pay $1.75 million after a jury found her liable for having an affair with her manager, Tim Montague, characterized under North Carolina law as criminal conversation and alienation of affection.
Okay, so as I said, North Carolina law allows you to do alienation of affection and apparently criminal conversation, both of which, from my understanding from the commentary, are pretty difficult to prove. And you're about to see a lot of women cheering in the courtroom for the ex-wife. Originally, the lawsuit was for about $3 million, and the ex-wife has been awarded $1.75. And now it's going to go into all the crazy things that the mistress did.
Montague's ex-wife, Akira, suing Kennard for her deliberate interference in the marriage, including wrongful and malicious acts.
What's up, y'all?
Saying in a court filing, Kennard engaged in behavior designed to seduce him, like wearing very short skirts and twirling her hair in a flirtatious manner. The plaintiff's attorney...
Okay, I'm going to have to do a side-by-side. I wonder if it shows it here of what the man's ex-wife looks like. She's like a normal, cute, normal-looking woman. I mean, and then versus the one that he left his wife for, because it's shocking. It's really shocking. And we're going to talk more about him in a little bit, because there's been more information that has come out on him.
Attorneys presented evidence, including sexual videos and texts, a video of Kennard dancing in the couple's home, and another video of her saying she cannot wait to be Mrs. Montague. They argued the TikToker, who had millions of followers, flaunted their relationship on social media.
Hi, guys.
That says that my...
Okay, so you saw the man in the back. The first time I showed this to my husband, I showed him another commentary. He saw the dude, and he's like, that is not a masculine man. That is a very feminized man that these women are arguing over. And it has since come out, because I've read other news articles and things, that he had cheated on the wife previously while she was pregnant with his child. I believe they said they have 2 children together. And in addition to that, it has come out in other commentary that although he was this TikTok influencer's manager, I guess when they got together, he had like no place to stay, no place to go, something like that. And the story gets even wilder because apparently the TikTok influencer, who you can see over here, who was just ordered to pay the $1.75 million, she married the man's cousin to get closer to the man, and then became friends with the ex-wife to get information from the ex-wife to seduce the woman's husband.
client was telling the truth.
You cannot make this shit up.
Akira Montague saying as a result of Kennard's actions, she has suffered humiliation, mental and emotional anguish, and injury to her health, adding their actions deprived their 2 young children of a 2-parent household.
She has received justice from losing her husband and the father of her children.
But Kennard argues she had Montague's consent.
She gave her consent. She said it was okay because
He left the mother of his children for this. For this. You see it all up in there, right? And she made her whole life about how do I manipulate the situation to get this man who ain't shit to begin with because he cheated on his wife before, he's just gonna cheat on me, and then have to pay $1.75 million for him, basically. So let us continue, and then we're gonna talk about this wounded maiden basic bitch behavior.
she knew her marriage was over with and it was done.
Kennard now calling herself Mrs. Montague, saying the couple are married, though NBC News couldn't find any legal documentation supporting that claim. She tells NBC News in a statement, the verdict wasn't fair at all. I fought the lies for 8 days and the jury sought sympathy, not facts, adding it's not over until God says it's over. Tim Montague adding about the TikToker, my wife had no fair shot, especially when defending herself against an entire team of attorneys.
Current wife. This one. The one he left his ex-wife, who he has 2 children with, for just because she went around. Well, she manipulated the whole situation, for sure. But, like, how weak of a man do you have to be for a woman to just flaunt herself all over you and then be like, yep, I'm going to leave my wife and kids for this. I'm going to destroy my whole freaking life for this. Like, how weak of a man do you have to be? And I know that it goes both ways. And how crazy of a woman do you have to be like, That man is married, but let me manipulate this whole situation so I can, including marrying his cousin to be closer to him and befriending his wife so I can steal him. That's crazy.
As for that $1.75 million payday,
I don't know, but she'll probably never see it.
All right, Maggie joins us now. Maggie, sorry, we were sort of glued to the monitors there. This one's a strange one.
Fair.
Let's back up. You mentioned this is a North Carolina law, but there are other states where people can sue over infidelity?
Yeah, Tom, that's actually true. And for people sitting at home thinking, hold on, you can be sued for having an affair, the answer is yes, indeed. This is a thing. In fact, in a handful.
So don't go around having affairs, people. Don't do it. You can get sued for it in about 7 different states in the United States.
Full of states, including Utah, New Mexico, and Mississippi. And North Carolina, for its part, has actually seen multiple cases, including back in 2021. There was one involving a state senator that was settled out of court. And then back in 2011, a kind of infamous payday. There was one of these cases where a woman was ordered to pay $30 million for wrecking a marriage.
Can you imagine having to pay $30 million for a man who has no integrity and no moral character whatsoever? Can you imagine? Because that's that's what's happening with these women out here.
30 million. Wow.
30
okay.
million.
Maggie Vespa, we thank you for bringing us that story.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this and come right back with more commentary. So let's break this down and start answering some of the questions that have been coming in the comment section and in the live chat when I do live streams about why women do this kind of behavior. So when women engage in this kind of behavior, I need you to understand a few things, right? So number one, obviously it's low self-esteem. In the case of the TikTok influencer, if you go to her TikTok, she might seem really confident and talk a good game and all that kind of stuff, but all that confidence is just masking really deep insecurity, because if you were a secure person, you wouldn't be going after a married man. You would be respecting that. So that's number one. Number two, total wounded maiden behavior. If you're unfamiliar because you're new here, I have these 4 stages of divine feminine evolution, and the wounded maiden is the one who's totally unconscious. She's very dramatic. She's chaotic. The drama finds her. She's manipulative. That's this. And the wounded maiden is more of the wounded feminine energy. Now, I know a lot of people would look at her and be like, oh, she's a boss and she's so masculine. Again, it's a front. Like, the whole confidence thing is a front in their case because it's very deep-seated insecurity. They don't think they can do any better. That's why they go after this. And they're also competing with the wife, but I will get back to that in a second. So this woman is actually not masculine. She's actually just a chaotic, wounded, feminine woman. A lot of the men in the comment section have started to realize that they've been dating chaotic women. Hopefully not as chaotic as this, but a lot of you have been coming to that conclusion. And a lot of the women, when I talk about these archetypes, is like, thank you for making sense of all of this so I can kind of see where I'm at in these levels of consciousness and maturity at the end of the day. So the reason why she's not masculine, when I think of a masculine woman, so the awakening warrior woman, as I call her, I think more Miranda from Sex and the City. She's a high-powered lawyer. She has structure in her life. There isn't really chaos and drama. She's got her shit together, and then she just ends up with a man she has to babysit. That's what I think of more when I think of the awakening warrior. When I see a woman whose life is full of chaos, that's a wounded feminine woman. It's not actually a masculine woman by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it would behoove her to take on a little bit more, or co-opt a little bit more of those masculine traits like responsibility and structure and discipline in order to improve her life and consciousness. Now, the other thing that's interesting to note here is that the guy ain't shit, right? And I don't mean to say that men in general ain't shit. I would never say that. I have very high respect for men on this channel. You guys know that. It's just this particular man that they're fighting over ain't shit. How do I know that? Well, he obviously doesn't have discipline. Part of a healthy, mature, masculine man is the ability to have discipline. Discipline in all areas of your life, but especially with your eggplant, is where you are supposed to have discipline. That is a sign of a mature man. That is a sign of a man of integrity. That is a sign of a man with good moral character. This man clearly has no good moral character, and this is not the first time he cheated on the wife. And the mistress found that out from the wife and then used that information to seduce him. So I find the whole thing very bizarre, where the mistress ain't shit because she's a very chaotic woman. Like, this man's in for a whirlwind. And then in addition to that, the men that a lot of these women fight over ain't shit. In this case, right? He had zero moral character whatsoever. And then somehow, right, you have to pay $1.75 million, and you're like, yep, I won the guy. He's not a prize, this particular man. You didn't win anything, right? You won a loser, number one, with no moral character, who's then going to cheat on you down the road, and now on top of it, you got to pay $1.75 million for it. I don't know so much the dynamic with the ex-wife. Like I said, it seems that he had cheated before, but perhaps they just decided to stay together because she was pregnant at the time, and they're having children. You know, women will do that kind of stuff, but clearly he's had a flawed moral character for a while. But even still, that was his wife, and that was the mother of his children. Right? So go after a man in that situation and manipulate your way in there is some really crazy work. And that's why I say it's dramatic, it's chaotic. Men want to stay away from women like this. It's really only unhealthy men, or perhaps mature men, who end up in these situations to begin with, because she's probably paying his bills with those 2.5 million TikTok subscribers, followers, whatever, that she has. The other thing that I want to say is this is why I don't hang out on TikTok. I can barely stand TikTok at all. I think it's just a dumpster fire, and it's not the highest quality people or the highest quality content. I personally like YouTube because it has been statistically proven that smarter people hang out on YouTube. People who understand nuance hang out on YouTube more. High earners tend to hang out on YouTube more, although in her case, she's a high earner and she's still trash, right? So high earning doesn't necessarily mean anything in that regard. The other thing I want to say here is, you guys know my husband and I left the United States a few years ago. We're currently spending quite a bit of time in Mexico. Mexico tends to be more traditional in a lot of ways. Latin America in general tends to be more traditional. It doesn't mean it doesn't have its problems. It absolutely does. But one of the things that we have noticed being out of the United States, and one thing that we hear a lot on my husband's YouTube channel, my husband runs a YouTube channel all about living in other countries, investing in other countries, online business, all that kind of stuff. And a piece of commentary we will see a lot on my husband's YouTube channel of people who've already left the United States or are interested in leaving the United States is that oftentimes they bring up this idea that there's just like this moral decay in the United States, in the culture itself. And a lot of them have told us that the more time they spend outside of the United States, the trashier the United States looks. I mean, it's just, the bar is in hell. Basically, in the United States right now, and that is a concern that a lot of people tell us, and this is a clear example of the bar being in hell in the United States. So am I missing anything? The idea of the woman, so the TikToker, right? They both know this man ain't shit. They both know it. At least the ex-wife got her payday out of it, so kudos to her. If you're going to go through all that, might as well get a payday. And kudos to her lawyer for proving this stuff, because apparently it's not easy to prove, although when you're suing a TikTok person who's put their entire private life on the internet, then perhaps it is easier to prove, but by general rule, not an easy thing to prove. So kudos to the lawyer as well, who helped the ex-wife. The TikToker didn't really want that man, because she knows he ain't shit. Definitely not worth $1.75 million. Right? She was competing with the wife. So I have said this before, and women who've had this experience have said this in the comments, right? So when my husband and I made the announcement that we had gotten engaged because we both had public businesses. This very interesting thing happened where a lot of his ex-girlfriends or ex-flings or whatever started showing up in his DMs. Not even to say congratulations, just to be like, what's up? What's going on? Trying to like start conversations and things like that. And there are low value women out here who will do that kind of stuff. Forgive them, they know not what they do, but understand the game of what is going on out here. As one of my teachers says, know the truth. They forgive them, they know not what they do, but respect the illusion. They're doing it. Or they're acting in that way in that moment. And my husband was like, this is so bizarre. This is so weird. What's going on? And I explained to him what was going on. And then when we got married and we had our wedding rings, I said, careful, that's a magnet to some women. And I had to, explain that to him because he's like, what do you mean that's a magnet to some women? And what happens, right, is that, and sometimes women will have this experience where they are married. I have not had this experience, but some of you have mentioned this in the comments or have had this experience where you will be out and another woman is flirting with your husband right in front of you. And you're like, well, that's inappropriate. Some of you have mentioned that that's happened. So let me explain what's going on there so that the women understand what is happening. That woman, the one who is out of order, is not responding to your man. That woman, she doesn't care. What she is responding to is your energy because that man's value went up just because you got with him. So I experienced it in the case of my husband and I, where all his exes came out and suddenly wanted to start talking to him again, and he was showing me all the DMs, and I had to explain the psychology of what was happening. Again, all low self-esteem women who don't think they can do any better. It's a lot of women who are attracted to chaos and drama. It's women who are attracted to what is bad for them, not what is good to them. It's women who want a man at any cost, even $1.75 million, apparently, of a cost, just to say that they won and they got it, even though usually when they're doing that, at least in this case, the man wasn't shit. She didn't win anything. In this case. And then the other thing that happens is when I've said that story, a lot of women in the comments were like, hey, I had that experience where I was dating this guy or I was with this guy and the guy cheated on me. And I found out and I dumped the guy. And as soon as I lost interest in the guy, the woman that he cheated with lost interest in him. Because it's not about the guy, it's about the woman. It's a woman competing with another woman. And that is also very chaotic, very dramatic, wounded maiden, basic bitch behavior. And I just want the women who watch this do not engage in this kind of behavior, but you may have to deal with women in the world who engage in this kind of behavior. And I wanted you to kind of understand what is going on there. But ultimately, this story is absolutely crazy. Again, imagine paying $1.75 million for a man who's going to cheat on you anyway. I'm sure that'll come out later, perhaps on TikTok or something like that. But general rule, don't date cheaters. General rule, do not steal a husband. Because you will pay. You will absolutely pay. Maybe you're not going to be paying $1.75 million, like this woman will, but you are going to pay, right? Because it is like spiritual and moral bankruptcy. And I thought it was hilarious how it came out later where this woman and her mom were like, we're Christians and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, those are like the literal worst. The literal worst, right, are the ones who claim that they're Christian and they are engaging in this very ratchet behavior as having some sort of moral superiority about it. And to the woman, the TikToker, even if the marriage was over, which, by the way, don't believe a man when he says that because he's lying. So if you're out here dating men and they're like, oh, I'm not divorced from my wife yet, and we're not separated yet, but the marriage is over. Do not believe him, ladies. Do not believe him. You will be the one who is paying as a mistress. He is lying, and he is showing you that he is a man who lacks discipline, and that is not a healthy man to be with. But all in all, this is a very trashy situation, very low value, very low quality, very messy, very dramatic. And I'm going to leave it at this. I've made a rule in my life many, many, many years ago This is before I met my husband. This is before I was doing this kind of work. Because remember, I've been coaching women for 15 years in different areas of their lives. I've been a mentor for that long. I've trained in all kinds of spiritual modalities and things like that over the last 15 years. And there's a rule I made for myself, I think probably 10 years ago. And I'm going to share that rule with everyone on this YouTube channel. I don't do messy in my life. I don't do it. Especially, right, if I'm out here teaching you guys, and and my husband and I were just having this conversation the other day, especially if you're out here and you're teaching like spirituality or philosophy, or you're a mentor or a role model of any kind, you are held to a higher standard. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. Of course you do, because you're human, but it does mean clean up your life. And it does mean make sure there's no messiness in your life like that. So I made a rule about 10 years ago, and that rule was I don't do messy. And I have had people in my life that I have dropped like a bad habit immediately, dropped like yesterday's trash bag, as soon as I found out that they were doing something messy. I may have not known previously, so I had ignorance, but the minute I find out, they're gone. I have cut them out. I am like Casper the Ghost. I disappear. And then they wonder where the hell I went. Now, I haven't had to do that in a very long time. I think the last time I had to do that was 7 or 8 years ago, right? When I found out someone in my circle was being very, very messy and manipulative. And I was like, bye, goodbye. And that's a rule that I've had for a very long time. And I think it's a rule that most people should engage in their lives, because the messiness is contagious. It is infectious. And these people, they will drag you down with them. So you don't just have to be discerning in terms of who you're dating. You just have to be discerning of who's around you to begin with. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. I hoped it helped answer the question that's been coming in the comments of why women do this type of stuff. And let's thank the social media gods for giving us this scrumptious story that we could all use as a learning lesson. If you like this video, give it a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this messy ass situation. Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say about it. Have you had situations like this? What do you think is going on? Have you seen it on TikTok? You probably have. Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, and I'll catch you on the next one.